The galaxy had long forgotten what it meant to fear humans. For more than 100 years, Earth had been silent. Nothing more than a ruined planet floating among the stars. The Galactic Union, made up of powerful alien races, had crushed humanity completely. They destroyed the cities, burned the skies, and scattered the survivors like dust. The once proud species that dreamed of reaching the stars was now nothing but a memory. The aliens believed the humans were gone forever. But they were wrong. They didn't know that even when broken, humanity never truly dies. Far away from the galactic core, in the shadow of a cold, dead sun, something was stirring. A hidden base built from the wreckage of old Earth ships lay deep inside an asteroid field. The air inside buzzed with energy and determination. Generations had passed since Earth's fall, and now the children of those survivors were ready to take back what was lost. They had been raised not on stories of peace, but on stories of fire, stories of Earth before it fell, stories of courage and the promise of revenge. The people of the colony called themselves the New Dawn. Commander Arya Kane stood at the edge of the observation deck, looking out into the void. She was a tall woman with silver streaks in her black hair, her uniform marked with scars and medals that told stories of battles fought in the dark. Her eyes were cold, but deep inside there was a fire that never went out. Before her floated the massive warship Erebus, humanity's first true dreadnought since the fall. It was built from salvaged alien tech and human ingenuity. Every plate of metal, every cannon, every glowing engine was proof that humanity had not vanished. It had adapted, evolved, and prepared. Arya's voice broke the silence. "Begin Operation Echo." The words were simple, but they carried the weight of a century of pain. Around her, dozens of officers began to move. Screens came alive, lights flickered, and engines roared. The massive ship trembled as its systems powered up for the first time. The entire base seemed to hold its breath. Everyone knew what this meant. Humanity was about to reveal itself again to the galaxy that had enslaved it. As the Erebus left the asteroid's shadow, the stars reflected on its dark hull. It was a ghost ship, silent and deadly, designed to strike fear into anyone who saw it. For the first time in 100 years, human ships were once again flying through open space. The crew was made of descendants of survivors, engineers, pilots, soldiers, each one carrying the memory of their ancestors' suffering. None of them had seen Earth with their own eyes, but they carried its spirit in their hearts. They were heading toward the nearest alien outpost, a small station run by the same species that once enslaved millions of humans. The aliens had no idea what was coming. To them, it was just another quiet night in space. The commander of the station, a reptilian alien named Rek, was sipping his drink when the sensors began to flash. "Unknown ship detected," his officer said. Rek frowned. "No ship is scheduled in this sector." Before he could react, the human dreadnought appeared out of the void. It was massive, far larger than any human ship should have been. Rek's drink slipped from his claws. "Impossible," he whispered. The Erebus didn't send a message. It didn't ask for peace or talk of surrender. Instead, it unleashed a single beam of pure white energy that tore through the alien station like paper. In seconds, the entire outpost was gone. The explosion lit up the nearby asteroid belt like a sunrise. The first strike of humanity's vengeance had begun. Across the galaxy, communication channels erupted with panic. Reports flooded in from ships and colonies. Words like humans, a return, an attack echoed through every network. The species that had once been slaves were now the hunters. Inside the Erebus, silence followed the destruction. Commander Arya watched the explosion fade away, her expression calm but her heart heavy. "One down," she said quietly. "Billions more to go." Her officers didn't cheer. There was no celebration. This wasn't joy, it was justice long delayed. Every soldier on that ship had lost family to the Galactic Union. Every one of them had grown up dreaming of this moment. Now it was real, and it was only the beginning. As the ship turned away, a signal was sent through encrypted channels to the other hidden colonies. It was a single phrase: "We are back." Across the void, small lights began to flicker as human ships powered up from secret bases, hidden moons, and deep caverns. The galaxy didn't know it yet, but a storm was coming. Humanity was no longer broken. It had become something far more dangerous, patient, united, and unstoppable. Far beyond, in the core worlds of the Galactic Union, alien leaders gathered in their shining halls. News of the destroyed outpost reached them, and fear rippled through their ranks. They laughed at first, dismissing it as a trick or a pirate attack. But deep down, they felt something ancient awaken inside them, fear. The kind of fear only humans could create, because the last time humans had risen against the stars, empires had burned. Back aboard the Erebus, Commander Arya stood at the command window, watching the stars. She thought of Earth, the blue oceans, the green forests, the billions who never saw justice. "This is for them," she whispered. Then she gave the order. "Set course for the next target." The engines flared bright red and the dreadnought vanished into the darkness. The hunt had begun, and somewhere across the endless galaxy the name of humanity was spoken once more, with terror and awe. The galaxy was restless. After the destruction of the outpost, no one could sleep easily. Alien empires that once ruled with arrogance now whispered the same word with fear: humans. The Galactic Union sent fleets to investigate, but none returned. Ships vanished without a trace. Commanders reported shadows in space, silent signals, and strange energy readings before their communications cut off. The galaxy's strongest powers began to tremble. Far away, the Erebus floated in the dark between the stars, hidden inside a nebula. Its hull was silent, like a predator waiting for the next kill. Inside, the humans were not celebrating. They were working, building, and preparing. Commander Arya Kane walked through the main deck, watching her crew. Every person moved with purpose. Pilots checking weapons, engineers upgrading drives, and scientists studying alien data. This was not a random war. It was a carefully planned campaign. Every move was part of something bigger, something that would shake the entire galaxy. Arya stopped beside a glowing map. Red dots marked alien stations. Blue ones marked known human colonies. There were only a few blue ones hidden in distant systems. The galaxy was still against them. But humans had something aliens never understood: determination. When others ran, humans built. When others surrendered, humans adapted. "We're still outnumbered," said Lieutenant Ramos, her tactical officer. "Even with our new weapons, their fleets are massive." Arya didn't flinch. "They have numbers," she said softly, "but we have memory. Every one of us remembers what they did to Earth. That's stronger than any weapon." Deep in the ship, Dr. Kellen, the chief scientist, was working on something secret. It was a new kind of weapon, one that used the same energy the aliens once used to destroy human cities. But now it was redesigned to strike back. He called it the Echo Drive. It could bend light, hide entire ships, and unleash a focused burst powerful enough to tear through a fleet. Humanity had learned from its enemies, and now it was turning their own technology against them. News of the destroyed station had already reached the alien capital world of Varnock. There, the Alien Council held a meeting inside a massive golden chamber. Dozens of alien species filled the room: reptilian, insectoid, mechanical. The air was filled with tension. A tall, blue-skinned alien named Xylan slammed his clawed hand on the table. "This is unacceptable. Humans were extinct." A smaller alien replied nervously. "Then explain the wreckage. The energy readings match human signatures." Murmurs filled the room. Some wanted peace, others wanted extermination. But the oldest among them spoke slowly. "You cannot destroy what refuses to die." Back at the Erebus, a transmission came in from another human colony. It was Captain Voss from the ship Dauntless. His voice was steady but cold. "We're ready to strike the next target. The Union shipyards at Theta Prime." Arya's eyes narrowed. That was one of the largest supply stations in the galaxy. If it fell, the Union would lose control over hundreds of fleets. She gave the order without hesitation. "We move at dawn." Hours later, the human fleet emerged from the nebula. 3 ships, Erebus, Dauntless, and Horizon, glided silently through the void. Their hulls reflected the faint light of distant stars. Ahead of them was Theta Prime, a massive ring of metal and fire where thousands of alien ships were built each day. The humans approached using the Echo Drive, completely invisible. Inside the ring, alien workers carried out their normal routines, unaware of the death moving toward them. "Range locked," Ramos said quietly. Arya looked at the screen. So many ships, so much power, and yet none of it could stop what was coming. "Fire," she said. The sky exploded. Human plasma cannons unleashed a storm of light. Explosions rippled through the shipyard as reactors ignited. Alien ships tried to scramble, but their systems went offline. The Erebus cut through the chaos like a blade through water. The alien commander shouted orders, but it was already too late. Within minutes, the entire shipyard was burning. Human missiles painted the sky with fire. But this time, the humans didn't stay silent. A transmission broadcast across every frequency in the system. A woman's voice, Arya Kane's, filled the airwaves. "You enslaved us. You destroyed our world. Now you will learn what it means to fear humanity again." Every alien listening froze. Her voice was calm, almost too calm. Then the message ended. Silence followed, broken only by static and the sound of explosions. Back on the bridge, the crew watched the fires of Theta Prime fade behind them. Arya didn't smile. She knew this was only the beginning. "They'll come for us now," said Ramos. Arya nodded. "Let them. The galaxy is big, but so is our anger." As the ships turned away, the camera panned across the wreckage, a burning reminder that the age of alien rule was ending. Across the galaxy, human colonies heard the news and began to rise. Old mining bases became shipyards. Hidden asteroids became fortresses. The legend of Earth's children spread like wildfire. They called them ghosts, demons, monsters. But in truth, they were simply humans who refused to die. In a dark corner of space, the alien council gathered once again. "We must find their base," Xylan growled. "We must end them before they end us." But even as he spoke, deep inside the shadows, the Erebus watched, listening, learning. The humans had become invisible hunters in the dark. Commander Arya stood alone on the bridge, watching the stars. "They think they can stop us," she whispered, "but they don't understand. This isn't war for us, it's justice." The engines roared quietly behind her as the ship disappeared into the darkness once more. The galaxy thought humans were broken. Now it would learn the truth. Humanity was reborn in fire, and this time there would be no mercy. Across the galaxy, silence turned to whispers. Whispers turned to fear, and fear became chaos. The Galactic Union, once the symbol of control and order, now felt the cold touch of panic. Fleets that used to patrol the stars with confidence now traveled in groups afraid of the dark. Every signal, every flicker on the radar, every sudden power fluctuation made commanders nervous. Somewhere out there, humanity was hunting them, and no one knew when or where they would strike next. The destruction of Theta Prime had shaken the entire galaxy. It wasn't just a military loss, it was psychological. For centuries, the aliens had seen humans as weak, emotional, and chaotic. Now that same chaos was destroying them piece by piece. Every alien news network broadcasted the same message. Unknown attackers destroy Union shipyard. Possible human survivors confirmed. The word spread like a virus. In markets, in government halls, in schools across alien worlds, the same question echoed, how are they back? In the cold void beyond the Orion Rift, the human flagship Erebus drifted silently, surrounded by a growing fleet of human warships. They were no longer alone. Other colonies had joined them. Ships with names like Vengeance, Liberty, Echo, and Iron Dawn formed a small but deadly armada. Each one carried crews who had been waiting their entire lives for this moment. The galaxy might have advanced in weapons and power, but it had never understood the human spirit. Inside the command room, Commander Arya Kane watched a holographic map of the galaxy. Dozens of red markers showed alien fleets moving, chasing ghosts. They were searching for humans everywhere but finding nothing. The Echo Drive made human ships invisible, and their signals unreadable. The galaxy was blind. Lieutenant Ramos entered holding a tablet. "Reports from the colonies," he said. "More are joining us. The outer belts are rebelling against the Union. Even alien slaves are rising." Arya turned to him, her eyes sharp. "Good, let them fight. Every rebellion weakens the Union." She walked toward the observation window. "But we don't stop until they remember what they did to Earth." Down in the engine bay, engineers worked tirelessly to upgrade weapons. The Erebus now carried new plasma lances that could cut through any shield. Human scientists had learned fast, faster than any alien expected. What took other species decades, humans mastered in months. Their drive came from something no machine could simulate: pain, loss, and determination. In the Galactic core, the alien council was in disarray. The Great Hall of Varnock was filled with shouting voices. Every representative demanded protection for their worlds. Some wanted to attack. Others wanted to negotiate. The oldest member of the council, Grand Chancellor Zathor, finally spoke. "We made a mistake," he said slowly. "We should have ended them completely when we had the chance." His words sent a chill through the chamber. Another alien stood. We tried. We destroyed their planet. Zathor turned his eyes toward the hologram of Earth, now a quiet, scarred world. You destroyed their home, he said softly, but not their spirit. Meanwhile, in the outer colonies, alien citizens began to see strange things. Messages appearing on their data screens. Hacked transmissions whispering one phrase over and over. This is for Earth. The message spread across the galaxy like a ghostly signal. It came from nowhere and everywhere. Some said it was an AI. Others believed it was the humans themselves. Whatever it was, it frightened everyone. Even the strongest warriors began to question their loyalty to the Union. Back aboard the Erebus, Arya sat in the war room with her team. A holographic image showed their next target, a planet-sized shipyard near the twin suns of the Jar system. We hit this, she said, and they lose control of the inner rim. That's where their main fleets are built. Dr. Kellen nodded. The echo drive can hide us until we're close. But once we fire, they'll know. Arya smiled faintly. Good, let them know. Let them see us before the end. The fleet prepared for battle. Crews moved with silent precision. Weapons charged, engines glowed, and the ships aligned. As the countdown began, a soft song played through the communication system. An old Earth melody, something that once played before battles centuries ago. For many, it was the first time they heard Earth's music. It felt ancient, powerful, and full of sorrow. Some cried quietly as they listened, gripping their controls tighter. Then the command came. Launch! The human fleet dropped out of the nebula and entered the Jar system. The twin suns reflected on their metallic hulls, painting them gold and red. The alien defense fleet immediately detected them and opened fire. Blue plasma bolts cut across space. But the Erebus didn't slow down. Its shields flared bright as it charged forward. The Vengeance and Liberty followed, firing beams that tore through alien cruisers. Space lit up with explosions. Target the shipyard core, Arya shouted. The Erebus's main cannon charged, humming with energy. The light grew brighter and brighter until it released a beam that tore through the heart of the alien structure. The entire shipyard exploded, creating a storm of debris and fire. The shockwave shook every ship in the system. When the smoke cleared, only silence remained. The alien fleet was gone. The humans had won again. As the Erebus turned away, Arya opened a channel to all nearby systems. Her message echoed through every network. This is Commander Arya Kane of the Human Resistance. The galaxy broke us once, but we survived. We remember every scar, every death, every tear. This is not conquest. This is judgment. The message reached millions. Some aliens destroyed their screens in fear. Others stared, unable to look away. The humans had become more than enemies. They were legends reborn in vengeance. Back on the Erebus, the crew watched the stars in silence. They're going to come at us with everything now, Ramos said. Arya nodded. Let them. We'll be ready. Far beyond them, the galaxy was no longer united. Civilizations that once laughed at humanity now whispered prayers to survive. The fear of humans had returned stronger than ever before. And in the darkness of space, the hunters smiled. Humanity was no longer hiding. Humanity was rising. The galaxy could no longer pretend. Humanity was back, and every empire knew it. Their fleets were burning, their stations destroyed, and their leaders terrified. The humans had become the shadow that haunted every star. But now the Galactic Union decided to strike back. They called it Operation Purge, a massive plan to find and destroy the humans once and for all. Dozens of fleets from different alien species gathered near the center of the galaxy. Massive warships, each larger than mountains, lined up in perfect formation. The alien commanders promised their people that the human threat would end here. They had new scanners, new weapons, and millions of soldiers ready to crush the so-called ghosts of Earth. But deep inside, they were afraid. They didn't understand how humans had returned. They didn't understand their weapons or how they disappeared so easily. Still, they prepared, hoping numbers would win what fear could not. Far away, hidden behind the remains of a shattered moon, the Erebus watched. Its engines were quiet, its lights dimmed. Commander Arya Kane stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the holographic map showing the alien fleet's position. Around her, the human officers worked silently, each one focused. The room was filled with tension, but also confidence. This was what they had trained for, the moment when the hunters would become the hunted. They've gathered 200 ships, Lieutenant Ramos said. Every major species has sent their best. Arya nodded. Good, she replied calmly. We don't need to find them now. They've all come to us. She turned toward Dr. Kellen. Is the Echo Drive ready? Kellen smiled. Ready and stable. Once activated, no sensor in the galaxy will see us coming. Outside, the rest of the human fleet, Dauntless, Vengeance, Iron Dawn, and others, floated in perfect silence. Hundreds of pilots checked their systems one last time. The ships looked small compared to the alien armada, but they carried something no machine could measure: anger. Each crew member remembered the pain passed down through generations. They weren't just fighting for revenge. They were fighting to prove humanity still belonged among the stars. Arya's voice came through every speaker. We are outnumbered. We always were, but remember, numbers never scared us. Fear never stopped us. They think we fight for survival. They're wrong. We fight for justice. We fight for Earth. The fleet moved. Engines flared to life, glowing red and white. The Echo Drive activated, bending light around them. The entire human fleet vanished from radar. They became ghosts in the dark, invisible and silent. The alien armada drifted near a red dwarf star, scanning every corner of space. Commanders barked orders. Scanners swept the area again and again, but they found nothing. Then, without warning, alarms blared across their ships. One by one, alien cruisers began to explode. No one saw the shots, just flashes of light and then fire. They're here, screamed an alien officer. We can't see them. Human ships appeared out of nowhere, firing precise shots that tore through enemy lines. The Erebus unleashed its main cannon, slicing through a dreadnought in one hit. Smaller human fighters darted between alien ships, firing missiles that struck with deadly accuracy. Panic spread through the alien ranks. The perfect formation collapsed. Fleets tried to retreat, but their engines failed as human EMP bursts disabled their systems. From the bridge of the Erebus, Arya watched the chaos. No mercy, she ordered. Finish it. The Vengeance and Iron Dawn circled around the largest alien battleship, the Varkos, flagship of the Union fleet. It was the same ship that once bombarded Earth during the final war. For many humans, it was the ultimate symbol of pain. Now it was their target. The Erebus charged its main cannon again. The ship trembled from the power buildup. Target locked, Ramos said. Arya's voice was cold. Fire. The beam hit the Varkos straight through its center. The explosion was blinding. A second sun was born for a few seconds, lighting up the void. The great flagship shattered, breaking into millions of burning fragments. Across the galaxy, every communication network picked up the same signal: the destruction of the most powerful ship in history by human hands. The battle lasted only 20 minutes. When it ended, half the alien fleet was gone. The rest fled into hyperspace, leaving wreckage behind. Humanity had done the impossible. They had destroyed the strongest armada ever assembled. Inside the Erebus, the crew cheered, but Arya remained silent. Her hands rested on the console as she looked at the fading light of the destroyed ships. We won, said Ramos, almost in disbelief. Arya shook her head slightly. No, this was just the beginning. They'll send more. They'll come harder next time. Dr. Kellen stepped forward. Then what's the plan, he asked. Arya turned toward him, her expression unreadable. Now, she said, we show them what true fear is. The next day, the humans began something new. Using captured alien technology, they started sending messages into enemy systems, not of threats, but of truth. They broadcasted the story of Earth, of how the aliens destroyed their world, how billions were enslaved, and how humanity rose again. Every alien who heard it realized something terrifying. The humans were not monsters. They were survivors. On one alien world, a young officer listened to the transmission secretly. The human voice said, "You called us savages. You called us broken. But we remember. We remember everything." He turned off the screen and looked at the sky, wondering how long it would be before those humans came for his planet. Back on the Erebus, Arya stood alone in the quiet of her command room. Through the window, the stars stretched endlessly before her. She thought of Earth, its blue oceans, its lost people, its silence. "We're coming home," she whispered. Behind her, the engines began to glow again, brighter this time. The human fleet turned toward the Galactic Center, where the Union's capital world waited. Their next battle would decide everything. The galaxy had hunted humanity once. Now humanity hunted the galaxy, and this time there would be no mercy. The galaxy burned, Every corner of space whispered the same truth. The humans were coming. The mighty fleets of the Galactic Union were scattered, their worlds trembling under the sound of human war drums echoing through the stars. The proud empires that once enslaved Earth now hid behind their walls, praying the ghosts of humanity would pass them by. But there was no mercy left in the stars. Humanity had suffered too long. Judgment was coming, and this time it had a human face. The Erebus and her fleet sailed through the Black Sea of space, moving toward the Union capital world, Varnock Prime. Once, it had been a symbol of unity and peace for all alien races. Towering spires touched the clouds, and golden rings floated around its orbit like halos. But now those same towers would witness the wrath they had earned. Commander Arya Kane stood on the bridge, silent as the stars passed by. Her face was calm, but her eyes were cold steel. This was the day she had waited for her entire life. The day Earth would finally be avenged. Lieutenant Ramos stepped beside her, his voice low. Scouts report heavy defense grids, planetary cannons, orbital shields, and a fleet guarding the outer atmosphere. Arya nodded slowly. Good, let them prepare. They think they're defending their future. They're actually facing their past. Dr. Kellen adjusted his controls at the science terminal. The Echo Drive is at full capacity. Once we break their perimeter, we can disable their shields for 6 minutes and no more. That's all we'll need, Arya said, eyes fixed on the glowing hologram of Varnock Prime. We don't need to destroy their world. We just need to show them what they created. The fleet approached the system. The stars around them shimmered as they exited stealth mode. The alien defenders were already waiting. Thousands of ships, their weapons glowing blue and red, stretching across the horizon like a metallic storm. An alien commander's voice echoed over open channels, full of arrogance. This is the Galactic Union Defense Fleet. Identify yourselves or be destroyed. Arya smiled faintly. They still talk as if they hold power, she said quietly. Then she opened the comms. This is Commander Arya Kane of the Human Resistance. You destroyed Earth. You enslaved our people. And now your judgment day has come. Before the alien could respond, the Erebus fired. The beam of light cut across space, vaporizing a cruiser instantly. The human fleet followed, unleashing a barrage of plasma and missiles. The aliens fired back, their cannons painting the void with fire. Space became a battlefield of light and shadow. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes, metal and flame scattering into the dark. Shields at 60%, shouted Ramos. They're focusing on us. Hold steady, Arya ordered. Stay in formation. Push forward. The humans pressed on, their smaller ships darting between massive alien vessels, striking weak points with precision. One by one, the alien ships began to fall. The Iron Dawn took a direct hit, its engines bursting into flame. We've lost the Iron Dawn, came the report. Arya closed her eyes for a brief moment but didn't waver. They died for something greater. Keep moving. Finally, the fleet reached orbit. The massive shield around Varnock Prime glowed bright blue, stretching across the planet like a second skin. Dr. Kellen's hands moved quickly across his console. Activating Echo Pulse, we're now. A wave of invisible energy surged forward. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the entire shield flickered and collapsed. The planet was exposed. Arya gave the order. Broadcast the message. Across every channel, every screen, and every communication line in the galaxy, a video began to play. It was old footage, cities burning, people crying, alien ships hovering over Earth. Then, it showed the ruins of those same cities, and finally, the human fleet rising from the ashes. A voice spoke over the images, Arya's voice. You called us savages. You called us broken. But we remember. We remember every scream, every fire, every child who never saw the sky again. You thought we were gone. But humanity never dies. We rise, we rebuild, and today we judge. All across the galaxy, billions watched in silence. On alien worlds, citizens stared at their screens, horrified by what they saw. The truth they had ignored for centuries was now in front of them. The cruelty their leaders had hidden. Then came the strike. The Erebus's main cannon charged once more, glowing with white-hot energy. Arya didn't aim for the planet's cities. She aimed higher, at the Galactic Senate's orbital palace, a ring-shaped station that hung above Varnock like a crown. Fire, she said. The beam hit the station dead center. For a moment it shone brighter than a star. Then in complete silence it shattered. Pieces of molten metal fell through the planet's atmosphere like fire rain. The Senate was gone. The heart of the Union was destroyed. The war was over. The galaxy was silent again, but it was not the same silence that once followed humanity's defeat. This was the silence of awe, of fear, and of change. The stars that had once been ruled by the Galactic Union now shimmered under a new era. Fleets that once carried slaves now carried refugees. Worlds that had burned under tyranny now began to rebuild under freedom. And at the center of it all was the ship that had started it, Erebus, the last fortress of Earth. Commander Arya Kane stood on the bridge, looking out at a distant blue-green planet. It wasn't Earth, not yet, but it was close. The humans had chosen it as their new home, calling it New Terra. Around it, hundreds of ships floated in calm formation, carrying the survivors of a war that had changed the galaxy forever. The fleet was scarred, their hulls burned and dented, but they were alive. They had done the impossible. They had brought humanity back from extinction. Lieutenant Ramos approached slowly, his usual sharpness replaced by quiet reflection. "The last of the Union governors have surrendered," he said softly. "The remaining fleets are disarming." "It's over." Arya didn't answer right away. Her eyes stayed on the planet below, its blue oceans glowing faintly under the light of a new sun. "It's never really over, Ramos," she said finally. "We won the war." "But peace is harder." Dr. Kellen joined them, holding a datapad filled with reports. "The colonies are united. The former slave worlds are reaching out for guidance. They want humanity to lead." Arya turned toward him. "Lead?" she repeated quietly. "That's a dangerous word. We came back to end rulers, not become them." Kellen nodded. "I know. But they see you as a savior, Commander. The woman who broke the galaxy." Arya gave a tired smile. "Maybe that's the problem. I didn't want to break it. I wanted to fix what they broke in us." The bridge fell quiet for a moment. Outside, the ships began to descend toward New Terra's atmosphere. The humans had finally found a home again. For the first time in centuries, there was laughter in their voices. Children would grow up under open skies, not in hiding. Cities would rise, built from both steel and hope. But even as the celebration spread, a question lingered in every heart. What would come next? That night, Arya recorded a message to be broadcast across the galaxy. She stood in the command room alone, the soft hum of the Erebus around her. A single camera light blinked red as she began to speak. Her voice was calm, steady and heavy with the weight of history. "To every world that can hear me, this is Commander Arya Kane of Earth, or what remains of it. The war is over. The Galactic Union has fallen. Humanity does not seek revenge any longer. We seek balance." Her voice carried through every frequency, reaching millions of listeners, human and alien alike. "We were broken once. Our world was taken, our people enslaved, our name erased. But even in darkness, we remembered who we were. We built, we adapted, and we returned. Not because we wanted to rule, but because we wanted to live free." She paused, looking down for a moment before continuing. "The galaxy has seen what happens when cruelty goes unchallenged. The age of chains is over. From this day forward, no race, no world, no empire will ever again have the right to enslave another. Not while humanity stands." Her eyes hardened, but her voice softened. "We have destroyed enough. Now we rebuild, not as conquerors, but as guardians. We will share what we've learned, our science, our strength, our mistakes. Let the galaxy remember this lesson. Justice without mercy becomes vengeance, and vengeance without purpose becomes emptiness." When the recording ended, she sat in silence for a while, staring at the stars. The camera light turned off, but the message had already begun spreading through the networks of a years had passed since the Great Judgment. The galaxy was healing. Planets once scarred by war were beginning to bloom again. Trade routes reopened. Old enemies spoke as allies, and species that had never trusted each other began to rebuild side by side. The humans, once feared as ghosts of vengeance, had become something greater, a symbol of rebirth. On New Terra, the sun rose over silver towers and green valleys. Human cities shimmered with a strange beauty, a mix of old Earth design and alien technology. Children ran through the streets laughing, chasing small drones shaped like birds. In the distance, great starships floated over the horizon, guarding the world but never casting a shadow of fear. Humanity was no longer hiding nor fighting. It was living again. Commander Arya Kane, older now, stood on the balcony of the central tower. Her uniform had changed, no longer dark armor, but white and silver marked with the emblem of the Galactic Accord. A new alliance born from the ashes of war. Her hair was streaked with gray, but her eyes still burned with that same light, fierce, steady, unbroken. Below her, thousands of people gathered in the plaza, their voices rising in celebration. It was Unity Day, the anniversary of the end of the war, and the beginning of peace. As she looked out over the crowd, memories flooded her mind, the ruins of Earth, the burning skies, the screams, and the silence that followed. So much had been lost, yet so much had been rebuilt. Humanity had proven something no empire ever could, that true strength wasn't domination or destruction. It was survival. It was hope. A soft voice came from behind her. "You should be proud," said Dr. Kellen, now the director of the Science Council. He stood beside her, smiling faintly. "The Accord has held for 5 years. The Union is gone. The new generation doesn't even know what war feels like." Arya nodded slowly. "That's the point. They shouldn't." She turned her eyes to the horizon where the blue sky met the stars. But they should remember. Down below, the celebration began. A huge hologram appeared in the sky, the image of Earth as it once was, glowing blue and full of life. The crowd fell silent. The image shifted to show the ruins, then the rebirth of New Terra. A single phrase appeared in golden letters. "We fell. We rose, we endure." Applause thundered across the plaza. Tears glistened in the eyes of soldiers, scientists, and children alike. Even aliens among them, once enemies, clapped in respect. Humanity's story had become everyone's story. Later, as night fell, Arya walked alone through the city's memorial garden. The air was cool and calm, filled with soft blue lights. Statues lined the path, not of heroes or leaders, but of everyday people. A mother holding a child, a worker lifting rubble, a young soldier staring at the stars. Each statue carried a name. Not just humans, but aliens too. Those who fought for freedom, no matter where they came from. Ramos found her there. He had aged too, his hair white now, but his grin unchanged. "Still can't sleep, Commander?" he asked. She smiled faintly. "Old habits die hard, 1,000 worlds." It would be remembered for generations as the final voice of humanity. Later, Arya visited the memorial deck aboard Erebus. The walls were covered with holographic names. The fallen soldiers, the civilians lost during the Great War, and the names of Earth's lost cities. New York, Tokyo, Karachi, Moscow, Sydney, Lagos, London, cities that existed now only in memory. She reached out and touched the glowing name Earth, and for the first time in many years her voice trembled. "We came back just like we promised." Ramos joined her quietly, holding 2 mugs of recycled coffee. "You should rest," he said. She took the mug, nodding. "Soon. There's still work to do." "A whole galaxy to heal." Ramos smiled. "Do you think they'll ever forgive us?" Arya looked at him for a long moment. "Maybe not," she said softly. "But maybe forgiveness isn't what we need. Maybe what matters is that no one forgets." Outside, the first human colony ships touched down on New Terra. Lights flickered across its surface as construction began. Homes, schools, and green fields taking shape under alien skies. The children of humanity stepped out onto solid ground, breathing free air for the first time in generations. They looked up at the stars with wonder, not fear. And high above, the Erebus continued to orbit, a silent guardian of a reborn race. Its black hull bore scars from countless battles, but those scars told a story of loss, of pain, of survival. The ship was more than metal. It was a reminder that even the smallest flame could outlast the darkness of an entire galaxy. Before leaving the bridge for the last time, Arya recorded one final entry in the ship's log. "For those who find this record know this. Humanity is not perfect. We are flawed, emotional, and stubborn, but we endure. When the galaxy turned against us, we stood alone. When they broke our world, we rebuilt it among the stars. And if ever darkness rises again, remember, we are the children of Earth. We fall, we rise, and we never forget." She closed the log, stood quietly for a moment, and looked out at the sunrise over New Terra. The light touched her face, warm and golden. For the first time in 100 years, it felt like peace. The engines of Erebus dimmed. The ship slowly descended toward orbit, its mission complete. Across the galaxy, her message continued to echo, not as a threat but as a promise. Humanity had returned. And this time it was here to stay. He walked beside her, hands in his coat pockets. "You did it, you know. You kept your promise. The galaxy's free. Arya shook her head. Not because of me, because of all of us. Because no one gave up. She stopped by a statue of a small girl, her hand reaching toward the stars. I still think about them sometimes. The ones who never made it. Ramos's voice softened. They made this possible. Every one of them. A sudden streak of light flashed across the sky, a meteor glowing bright against the darkness. Arya looked up. When I was young, she said quietly, I used to make wishes on those. What do you wish for now? Ramos asked. She smiled, her eyes reflecting the stars. That we never forget who we are, and that we never become what they were. The next day, Arya stood before the Galactic Council in the rebuilt capital, not on Varnock, but on New Terra itself. Representatives of 100 worlds filled the grand hall. The atmosphere was different now. No fear, no arrogance, just respect. The banners of the new accord hung above them, and at the center was Earth's symbol, a blue sphere wrapped in golden light. When Arya spoke, her voice carried the same power it always had, though it was softer now, wiser. For 1,000 years, the galaxy was ruled by fear. Empires rose and empires fell. But fear always remained. We cannot erase what happened, and we should not. The memory of pain is what keeps us from becoming monsters again. She looked around at the alien leaders, her eyes calm but commanding. We are not the same species. We come from different worlds, different skies. But we all bleed, we all dream, and we all love something we cannot replace. That makes us the same. Let that be our strength, not our weakness. When she finished, the entire hall stood in silence. Then, slowly, applause began, soft at first, then thunderous. The galaxy had listened. That evening, as the sun set over New Terra, Arya returned to the Erebus. It now rested in orbit as a museum, a reminder of what humanity had endured. She walked through its silent halls, touching the walls as memories returned, the battles, the fear, the hope. It felt strange to see it so peaceful now. In the captain's room, she found a small plaque placed by the new crew. It read, To Commander Arya Kane, who reminded the galaxy what it means to be human. She smiled softly, placing her hand on it. No, she whispered. We all did. Outside, the stars glittered like diamonds, calm and endless. Humanity had finally found its place among them, not as conquerors or slaves, but as equals. The galaxy had changed forever, and somewhere in the darkness of deep space, the voice of Earth, quiet, patient, eternal, seemed to whisper back, Welcome home, my children. The engines of Erebus hummed faintly one last time as the lights dimmed. The ship rested, its mission complete. Humanity had come full circle, from ashes to stars, from vengeance to peace. And in that peace, a new story began. The story of the new dawn. The galaxy was finally calm. For the first time in centuries, there were no wars, no fleets chasing shadows, no cries for vengeance echoing across the stars. Humanity had fulfilled its promise, to rise, to rebuild, and to restore balance. The Galactic Accord had brought peace between countless species, uniting them under one truth. No one rules forever. But peace, as always, was not the end. It was only the beginning of something greater. On New Terra, dawn broke across silver mountains and blue oceans. The planet had become a living symbol of unity, a place where humans and aliens walked side by side. In orbit above it, massive starships drifted peacefully, not as weapons of war, but as explorers. The fleet that once fought for vengeance now carried a new mission, discovery. The galaxy was vast, but beyond its edge lay the Void Sector, a region where no signal returned, where stars flickered and died like candlelight. For decades, no one dared to go there. But humanity had never been a species that feared the dark. Admiral Arya Kane, now older, gray-haired, her eyes lined with time but still sharp as ever, stood on the bridge of a new ship, the Solara. It was larger and more advanced than the Erebus, powered by clean energy and designed for deep exploration. Her crew was young, a mix of humans, Andral scientists, and Varnock engineers all working together. The name Erebus was etched into the hull near the bridge, a tribute to the ship that had started it all. Lieutenant Mira, a young officer with bright eyes, turned to her. Admiral, systems are ready. The jump coordinates are locked. Arya smiled faintly. It's strange, she said softly. All my life I fought to survive. Now I'm fighting to discover. Mira grinned. That's the best kind of fight. As the countdown began, the Solara's engines glowed brighter. Across New Terra, people gathered to watch the launch. Millions of eyes looking toward the stars. For them, it was more than a mission. It was the next chapter of humanity's story. The proof that even after all the pain, humans still reached upward. Jump in 3, 2, 1. The Solara vanished into hyperspace. What awaited them was not what anyone expected. They emerged near the edge of the galaxy, where the stars grew faint and space seemed thinner. The sensors flickered. Massive structures floated in the distance, ancient, silent, glowing with faint blue light. They weren't ships or stations or anything the galaxy had ever built. They were monuments, enormous rings of unknown metal orbiting a dead sun. Readings are unstable, said Dr. Vec, the alien scientist. The materials are older than the galaxy itself. Arya narrowed her eyes. Older than the galaxy? Vec nodded slowly. These were built before any known civilization existed. As the Solara approached, the ship's lights reflected off one of the massive rings. Symbols glowed faintly across its surface. Not alien, not human, but something beyond both. Arya leaned closer to the display. The pattern looked like a star map, but one that pointed outside the galaxy. Before anyone could speak, the ship's comms crackled with static. A voice, soft, distant, and distorted, whispered through the speakers. Children of Earth, you have come far. The bridge went silent. Every officer froze. Mira turned pale. Admiral, that voice, it's speaking in English. Arya's breath caught. The sound wasn't hostile, but it carried something old, something powerful. We watched your rise. We watched your fall. We watched your fire light the darkness once more. You are not the first, but perhaps you will be the last. Identify yourself, Arya said firmly. Who are you? The voice replied, calm and echoing. We are the architects, the ones who shaped the stars before life began. You have reached our boundary. Beyond here lies what no mind should awaken. Static filled the room. The lights dimmed. Energy levels spiked across the ship's systems. Shut it down! Ramos Jr., the new engineer and son of Arya's old comrade, shouted. The energy from those rings is pulling us in. The Solara trembled violently. The crew struggled to stabilize power. Through the viewport, space itself seemed to twist and bend, forming a vortex of blue light. Arya gripped the console. Hold the ship. Don't let it take us. Mira shouted. We're losing control. Then, as suddenly as it began, everything stopped. The ship floated still. The screens went dark. Outside, the rings began to glow brighter, aligning in a perfect circle. From the center, a beam of light shot toward the Solara, enveloping it completely. And then, visions. Arya saw flashes of countless worlds, not just human or alien, but ancient civilizations long gone. She saw galaxies being born, stars collapsing, and strange beings of light walking among them. She saw Earth in a small blue dot, rising from the ashes again and again through time, through cycles beyond comprehension. When she opened her eyes, the ship was silent. The crew stared at her wide-eyed. Admiral, Mira whispered. What happened? Arya looked at the ring, now dim and silent again. We were shown something, she said quietly. The truth. We're not alone. We never were. And something is waiting beyond this galaxy. The crew exchanged uncertain glances. Fear and wonder mixed in their faces. Ramos Jr. spoke. Do we go back? Arya hesitated. Her eyes lingered on the faint glow of the rings. No, she said finally. We go forward. Humanity didn't stop at vengeance. We won't stop at fear. She turned toward the stars and toward the unknown. Prepare for jump. Destination beyond the edge. The Solara's engines roared to life. The rings behind them began to pulse again as if watching. As the ship entered hyperspace, the voice echoed once more, faint, fading into the background of the stars. Then go, children of Earth, and remember, even the light casts shadows. Back on New Terra, the transmission from the Solara played to the Galactic Accord. Billions listened as Arya's final message came through, calm and resolute. We have found something ancient beyond the galaxy. We don't know what it is or what it wants, but we will face it, not as warriors, not as conquerors, but as explorers. Humanity's story does not end here. It continues, into the stars beyond stars. The transmission ended and silence followed. Somewhere far away, a new light appeared at the edge of the universe, small but growing brighter. Humanity had once risen from ashes. Now it was stepping into eternity. The legend was no longer about vengeance. It was about legacy. The legacy of the stars had begun.